I'm doing a lot of talking. Thankfully, I love the sound of my own voice. The rest of my family sitting here in the, surrounding my home office are perhaps sick of it. We are on point 4 of 5, I promise, this longer than usual first webinar. Cash is king. It's been said before, you've probably all heard it from your accountant, your business advisor, your CFO. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. Never is that more true than right now. The businesses that have cash right now are in a position to survive. They're in a position to thrive. They're in a position to invest, to make the most of opportunities. The businesses, however profitable, however large, that don't have a good cash buffer are the ones that are going to struggle first. Sit down with your CFO, with your accountant. If you don't have a good accountant, if you don't have a good CFO, I can recommend some to you, depending on your industry, your geography, who can help you do this, even as just a one-off piece of work, because this is going to be critical. Here are, there's a lot here. I'm going to touch on every single one of them very briefly. I'm not an accountant. I used to be the partner of an accounting firm. I'm not an accountant. So I'm not going to, some of the phrasing here may be as accurate to a cash flow as my economics is accurate to economics, as my meditation was accurate to a psychologist. This is mum and dad stuff to help you in your business in a practical way. 3 elements for your cash flow. What's going to happen with revenue? What's going to happen with expenses? And what are some of the other things you need to do? Revenue, client retention plan. WIP, work in progress. Get your team doing stuff, get them billing. In a downturn, your team will start to go slow. They want to show that they're busy so that you keep them employed. It's not necessarily a conscious thing. They're not doing it to screw you. It's a natural fear response from their reptilian brain that if I just go slowly, if I build up WIP, if I don't get the jobs done, then you've got to keep me around. You've got to cut that stuff off at the pass. It'll make you cry, seeing the WIP building. Get it crushed, get it faster, and faster work getting done, faster invoices getting out means faster getting paid right now, which is critical. Governments around the world are starting to throw money. They're throwing money at consumers. They're throwing money at businesses. Again, I'm seeing accountants, CFOs, bookkeepers. They're the ones who are really leading the conversation around. They're doing the research to know what you can apply and how to do it. Talk to your accountant, talk to your CFO. Keep business development activity happening, whatever that might be. Marketing, sales, nurturing. Don't stop that. Yes, most people are going to be focused elsewhere, but it's the businesses that stop that activity that are going to start hurting in 3 or 6 months' time when the sales cycle would normally lead into new client cycle, and they're going to have a gap. Look at your pricing. Looking at your pricing, do you need to put prices down? Do you need to package, which is the next one? Do you need to start bundling things together? So, 3 for the price of 2 kind of solutions. Do you need to unbundle? If, I mentioned, some of the CFOs that I work with, for example, that can do a cash flow forecast, they are long-term relationship builders that come into a business to help you for the long term. They're unbundling some of those conversations because right now you don't want a long-term commitment. You want a short-term conversation. So they're unbundling their packaging in order to have something that's relevant to the market right now. You don't have to drop your prices. Do not become a charity at this time. Keep the conversation going. And this may also be an opportunity to introduce new products, and I'll share my business plan for Don't Waste a Good Recession in the coming weeks. I'll be fully transparent about that. The example I shared on LinkedIn and Facebook this week was a Pilates class just down the road from me here in Brisbane, Australia. They have now launched, they've had the first week of online classes. That may have been something that they wanted to do for ages. It may have been an immediate response. Either way, that's something that they weren't offering 10 days ago. And they've now got people paying them to take the class from the comfort of their own homes. They've got something that's scalable in terms of geography, in terms of numbers, and that could actually be, it could be 6 or 12 months' time that product is the one that's bringing the most money into the business. So don't let opportunities stop just because so much of the world has. Expenses, and here, particularly if the revenue is getting turned off. hospitality, leisure, hotel companies who are really at the front line of what's going on here. What expenses can you cancel? Which ones can you defer? Talk to your suppliers, talk to your creditors, have these conversations. They're not idiots, they know what's going on. For some in the past, it's a shitty thing to do. If you have to do it though to keep your doors open, can you pay them 80 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar so that they get paid now? The importance of cash to them now may be more important than profit in the future if you can't afford it. But keep those conversations going. Again, no news is scary. Conversations, even if it's just, here's where we're at, we're delaying things, we're reviewing things, is helpful. A lot of tax offices, HMRC, the ATO, the IRS, are basically coming out and saying, use us as a bank, pay our obligations later or last, keep people employed, keep your suppliers, invoices going. So that may be a way to manage your cash flow. You've got to look at, if you have suppliers in a supply chain, and even your staff, to be honest, how stable is that? It feels like a lifetime ago. It was only about a month when I was, talking to people about China's shutting down. That's going to have an impact on, things aren't getting manufactured. They're not getting put on boats. We're going to see in a month to 3 months shortages of gear and equipment. And I've heard horror stories. They're all, stories. So I won't share any now to risk fear-mongering. But, large projects that are on hold because the supply chain broke down and they couldn't get the screws to put things together. So you might be healthy or you might be stable enough, but some of those suppliers, supply chain, the team that you've got coming in, how stable are they at continuing to provide whatever it is that you need? Look for potential cost savings and frankly, ask yourself if you can cut your own pay first. Even if it's only a short-term measure, even if it's only part of your salary, and I know a lot of small business owners here aren't even pay themselves out of profit. It's not even an option. But for team, for clients, hey, we're all going to have to take a pay cut. That hurts. If that comes 2 weeks after you communicated that you're all still getting paid fully at this time, I'm not paying myself or I'm paying myself less, it shows that you're leading from the front and teams will value that, will remember that in hard times. A few other things. We've got some videos that we'll share in the Facebook group on some of these items, and particularly your break-even point. Do you actually know your break-even point? How much money do you need to bring in the door to cover your fixed costs each month? There's a simple formula. I'll share that video later today. How much cash have you got in the bank? Are you monitoring that? Are you managing that? Where are your debtors at? Get onto that fast. Get them managed. Who are the at-risk debtors? Smaller bills more often if that's what's required to keep the debtors under control, because that's work you've done. That's cash that's sitting on the balance sheet. If you don't understand your balance sheet, talk to your accountant, your CFO, your finance manager, your bookkeeper. Have them explain it to you. When I get asked, where's all the cash gone? I made profit, but I don't have any cash. I've got to pay the tax office. As a result, what's going on? It's almost always because the business owner doesn't understand how the balance sheet works and how much cash is hidden on the balance sheet. Get clear on your balance sheet. You may be able to free up some cash. Talk to your bank. Look at funding options. I'm seeing prepayments in a lot of hospitality businesses. I think that's fantastic. My local cafe is intending to stay open. He's in a position where he can do that at this point. That absolutely, if he turned around and said, we've got to shut, but are you interested in prepaying for some coffees? That's cash he can take today. It's not income from an accounting perspective, and sometimes you get into a fun fight around that, but cash is king. So that's cash today. So it may be pre-orders, pre-booking, support, whatever it might be. And then link obviously to things like new products, other products. Review your insurances. You may get lucky if you haven't done that already. You may discover you have some form of business continuity insurance or something that covers you and can provide some funding at this point in time. There's a lot of specific elements there. I hope some of those you've kind of gone, I can think about that, or that could help. If you want to do the detailed thing, I know a lot of us right now are having conversations with the ceiling god. That's when you're lying awake at 3 a.m. in the morning staring at the ceiling going, oh God, what am I going to do? The ceiling god likes spreadsheets almost as much as I do. Here's, you don't need to do all 4 of these versions. It may be that you see some of these as unnecessarily optimistic or pessimistic, but at the far left, what happens if your team and you are diagnosed with coronavirus? You're all or mostly suddenly sick with an illness. Hopefully you're all healthy enough to survive it, but clients aren't going to want to see you. Challenges, you're going to have a freak out, as you might be hearing in the background. What impact is that going to have on revenue? What impact is that going to have on expenses, profit, cash, choices? I mean, some expenses will go down. If you don't have to turn the lights on, your electricity bill is going to go down. Probably not going to save you all that much compared to not having any revenue. What choices do you need to make and when in that scenario? An interesting one, I had a chat with a business last week about one of their contingency plans. They haven't pulled the trigger yet, but they're thinking about it, is finding competitors who they trust, who they think do a good job, and essentially having almost a job share pact. Like if my business has to shut down, but you're still going, we're all probably going to have spare capacity. Can I send my jobs to you? As a hotel, if my hotel shuts down, can I send my guests to you? Airlines are having to do it, send my passengers onto your plane. They were a trade. It was like, well, if my bricklayers can't come out, can your guys go and do the jobs? And we'll take a cut of the ticket, and vice versa. If it happens to you, then we'll look after your clients, keep them happy. So there are just because the business stops doesn't mean your revenue has to. If there's a major downturn, okay, so the business keeps chugging along, but let's say for the next 6 months, the economy or your business declines by 50%. Use a real figure for you. Maybe that is, maybe your business might drop by a lot more than that. Maybe that would not be, even within the realm of possibility. It's too big. But what's a major downturn look like? What's the flow-on effect to your expenses, to your profit, to your cash flow? What choices have you got to make and when? If this is a mild downturn, I don't think it is. In some businesses, it absolutely could be. You might be, immune, pardon the pun, to, this specific recession. You might only catch a mild case. But if we were down by less than 20% or for less than 6 months, again, pick the figures that feel right for you, flow that on, and then flip the script. Now, some businesses will pick on insolvency lawyers. I've already mentioned Zoom, who are doing remote conferencing. They're counter-cyclical at this point in time. They're going up. They're hiring staff. Amazon is hiring 100,000 new staff. Uber is in the toilet, but Uber Eats is going to be going up. So flip the script. What if you were able to come up with a new product, or what if this market supported you and you were actually going to increase your revenue by 20% on an ongoing basis? Okay, maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 50%. What impact will that have on revenue, expenses? What does that mean? You've got to do choices, recruitment, all of these kind of things. You don't have to do all 4. I know if you're in leisure, hospitality, flipping the script may be way too optimistic. But having that scenario planning, you're not going to get it perfect. You're not going to get it right. The value is not so much in the plan, it's in the planning. It's in building your strategic capability so that you can respond. And it's in having something you can share with your leadership team so that they know you're in control, decisions are being made.